the upcoming Onslaught map, being more about holding back waves of enemies in a traditional Killing Floor 1 style, as opposed to Killing Floor 3's normally more mobile gameplay, I have recently been looking at making builds that focus more on large areas of crowd control rather than raw, single target damage. After a lot of field testing, one of the best builds I came up with turned out to be something I call Control Firebug. This build utilizes Firebug's fire damage synergies, fire damage's naturally occurring panic status, and certain perk options for Enfeeble to create massive areas of area denial and crowd control that enemies have to struggle through to reach your team. That does not mean this build cannot do some big damage, so rest assured that you will be taking on large Zeds too. Initially, when I started working on this idea, it was an off-perk build using the Ifrit on Firebug. This quickly turned into an entire build that expanded way past just a single weapon. That being said, this build mainly revolves around the Ifrit's high, single-target fire damage laser used for trash clear and AoE crowd control. Normally, Firebug struggles with armored Zeds. However, the Ifrit also gives access to high damage electric plasma. Strip the large Zed armor with the plasma, swap to the laser, aim for the exposed weak spot, and listen to the fruits of your labor. Combining focus fire with the laser's already absurdly high base damage, this weapon clears chaff like no other. However, that alone doesn't create the area of effect crowd control we are looking for. That is done with the help of the perk Explosive Reaction. This perk has a chance to cause enemies to explode, dealing fire damage in an area around them, and, more importantly, creating ground fire. To capitalize on all this ground fire being made, we will also be running Slow Cook to enlarge the ground fire we create by 30%, and, more importantly, incorporate 30 Enfeeble to it, which will cause Zeds to move and attack significantly slower. You might be confused. If we're running a build focused on ground fire, then why are we not running Scorched Earth? Since that ups ground fire damage by 250%, wouldn't that be good? Well, it would be if ground fire didn't have a base damage of 10 and the 250% only upped it to 25. Just put on focus fire and never take it off. The natural panic from fire damage combined with Enfeeble from Slow Cook creates an environment that makes Zed's job of closing the gap incredibly difficult. So, let's use the rest of our skill tree to make it even more so, shall we? First is the Throwable. Choose all of the left side perks to create an effective tool for choke points. Take a Flesh Pound with a small group of clots behind it, for example. Direct impact the Flesh Pound, and Cocktail Party will cause it to panic. As it sits in the flames, Asphyxiate will quickly build up Enfeeble, so even once the Flesh Pound does recover from panic, it will be slowed. Extended Duration also allows you to slow any Zeds coming up to reinforce the Flesh Pound due to the ground fire's increased duration, which will isolate the large Zed for an easy takedown. On to the gadget. There are two archetypes of Control Firebug, each of which rely heavily on what perks you choose for your gadget. Both archetypes use Firewall and Red Zone from the passives tree to reduce damage taken and maintain armor while fighting at close range. They also use Hot Streak and Flammable Material from the gadget tree to further increase crowd control and damage around you, and recharge your gadget as soon as possible. The first version I call Sentinel. Sentinel holds its position, drawing a line of fire in the dirt and daring Zeds to cross it. This uses Ready for Action to fully reload your Ifrit and to increase its damage by 20%. Floodlights to increase the area of panic-inducing fire, and red carpet to make the ground fire last for an additional 8 seconds, which also increases weapon fire damage by an additional 20%. Sentinel is good at holding a spot, but what if you want a build that can retake lost ground? I'll let Father Grigori explain.
Look to your own salvation.
The second version of this build I call Pusher. This version is all about making up lost ground. This archetype was specifically inspired by the upcoming Onslaught map. I wanted to create a build where you could carve into trash and then use your gadget in the middle of a huge swarm, allowing your teammates to push up and recover lost distance. Sometimes in Killing Floor, someone makes a critical mistake and things fall apart. This is where Pusher comes out to play. Heat Therapy will give you some recovery from the hits you're inevitably going to take while pushing forward into the horde. Once you're there, with the help of Speedy Exit increasing your movement speed, and in the public eye drawing Z aggro, you will be able to kite and draw the enemy away from your team long enough for them to recover. The Ifrit is the main weapon used on these builds, but the secondary weapons for each archetype are different. Weapons for the Sentinel archetype would include things that are effective at a slight range, such as G33 with fire rounds or a Fire Recluse. Pusher, on the other hand, wants to get in close, so something like a Dragon's Breath or dual fire crates would work very well as a backup. In all cases, weapon attachments are up to preference, but I would highly recommend having at least one armor repair passive. Due to explosive reaction, 30% of Zeds will explode, which does count as destroying a limb. This will give you a chance to trigger the passive and get 20% armor. Thank you for watching to the end. I know I nerded out there, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments. If you learned something in this video or enjoyed the video, I wouldn't mind a like, and if you want to see more like this, I wouldn't mind a subscribe either. Next video I want to make is a comprehensive guide on Gunslinger, so expect that whenever Tripwire decides they want to stop teasing us with Season 4. Until next time, guys. See ya on the floor.